Thank you.
My guest today is Robert Kimball. He's the co-founder and CEO of the Dubuque Dream Center in Dubuque, Iowa. Robert launched the center in 2013 and is now opening Dream Academy, a faith-based K-7 private school in Dubuque, Iowa, with plans to grow through high school over the coming years. The school is opening this August of 2024. There are currently 53 students registered for the program, and all are attending tuition-free using Iowa's new Universal Education Savings Account program, ESA program, that provides universal school choice to all K-12 students in the state of Iowa. Robert Kimball, welcome to the Liberated Podcast.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. I just am thrilled to hear about your pre-launch success. Your doors aren't even open, and you're almost at the sort of first year capacity or your vision of what you wanted for enrollment in your opening year. Let's start back, though, if we could, Robert, with when did you have this idea to create a private school? I know you launched the Dubuque Dream Center in 2013. At what point did you say, I think we should really create the Dream Academy to go along with this program's mission?
So in 2016, we kind of started our research and our assessment to determine if we should become a private school. And so we started that assessment and research and visiting other schools in 2016.
And what was the Dream Center doing in sort of those initial 3 years when you opened? What was sort of the original mission, and where did you feel like a school would fit into that?
So originally, we were doing what was called an Adopt a School initiative, where we got the training and the model from Dr. Tony Evans in Dallas, Texas. And that's where churches would kind of adopt schools, or parachurch ministries like ours would adopt schools and help public school students who were below reading and math proficiency and had high ACEs or trauma. And so our original model was to adopt schools and support students that needed academic and social emotional support, and to share the gospel with them.
Interesting. So it started off as more of a supplementary program in partnership with local schools where you might have like after school programming or enrichment opportunities. And then it sounds like you just didn't feel like that was enough. Or I guess what was the thought of, gee, really, we need to do this ourselves with our own school?
No, great question. Well, there's a couple of things that came up. So in 2016, we kind of noticed that our ability to impact more students was needed because we had a waiting list. So that was just kind of the first thing. We were having about 100 students a year on a waiting list, and we just couldn't get in enough students. And we only had them for 3 hours a day after school. And so our ability, our capacity to impact them was limited because we only had them 3 hours a day. So we noticed students were progressing towards reading and math proficiency. We were introducing them to the gospel, but we were just limited because we didn't have them long enough, and we didn't have the capacity to serve more. And so we started to do our research and assessment to say, maybe we should consider, it's been great working with the public schools, but maybe we should consider starting our own school. And the last thing I'll say is, we really limited also in sharing the gospel with the students because of the public school partnership. So we had to be careful there. And because of that, we thought, so that we're not restricted, so that, we can have an unrestricted gospel impact and have a more holistic and deeper impact. Let's start looking at this. And so that was what started our motive for considering a private school.
So you started thinking about, at some point in the future, we'll launch a private school. That was back in 2016. What has sort of transpired over the past several years to make you decide that actually the 24-25 academic year is launch year?
The number one thing that happened is the passing of a law by our governor in Iowa, Governor Reynolds, of an ESA, Education Students Account, or Students First Act. And what that did is that gave support or allowed for private schools, Christian schools also, to get state funding for students. And so once that law was passed in 2023, we thought, hey, we've been doing this research for years. Now here's our opportunity where we thought, you know, all the research we've done, all the preparedness we've had have culminated to this unexpected blessing for us to really consider launching the in 2024.
So was it really a matter of affordability and accessibility then, Robert? I mean, I know you said you have placed your tuition for Dream Academy right at the price point of Iowa's ESA program, right around $7,800 a year. What was your sense around affordability? Would the families that you're serving been able to afford that without the ESA? You know, I guess what are sort of the demographics there of the population you're reaching out to?
Yes, Carrie, you already nailed it. For us, affordability was the key issue because of the demographic we're serving. Though the families we're serving would not be able to afford a private school tuition, even if we, you know, reduce the cost. And it's not best practice to try to fundraise at that capacity. I mean, we would have had to fundraise for probably about 80 to 90% of our families. So it's not a sustainable model. To fundraise every year and wonder if your doors are going to be open. So it was for us, the finances were huge. You know, we have the qualified support. We have the interested teachers. Our model, our model, which would be our school model, is a best practice model, but we just didn't have the funding.
Mm. So you decided that you would launch again this upcoming academic year. You were really only ready to take on about 60 students in your inaugural year. You're already at 53 registered students. Were you surprised by the amount of demand you've seen from local families?
No, we weren't surprised because of the research that we've been doing, and that research included surveying parents, doing small focus groups, and just our relationships with the parents and the schools over the years. So we knew that a lot of the parents wanted this school choice.
Mm. And why do they want that? What are they saying to you is attracting them to Dream Academy?
The smaller classroom sizes is like one of the number one focuses for the parents of what they enjoy the most, because at the public schools, when generally the teachers are in a classroom where there's a 1 to 25, 20 to 25 ratio, there's a lot of behavior problems, students on IEPs and BIPs, behavior intervention plans. And so the students are just not getting the focus and attention they need to excel academically, because the teachers in the public schools are having a hard time managing the students that we serve, which most of them are from Title I schools, where there's generally a high percentage of low-income families and students.
Yeah, so it really does sound like the new ESA program was the mechanism to enable lower income families to access smaller classes and sort of a tailored, in this case, faith-based private education model. Um, so most of the students are coming then directly from the district school. Is that what you're finding?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're opening K-7, but your plan is to grow with this cohort of students through high school, and really provide that career and college readiness for students over time. I wonder if you can share a little bit with us more about what the K-7 model looks like, what your sort of vision is for that, and then when and how do you see growth happening?
So our model is for a 1 to 10 teacher to student ratio in the classroom, with what we call school connectors, which would be like paras for us in that same classroom with the teachers. We would stretch it up to 12 students, but we would stay, 1 to 12. That would be the ratio that we want to stay within. And then when you add the school connector support, it could be 1 to 2 school connectors in the classroom. The students could be broken up into groups that are tailored to where they are, like you mentioned, and to progress at their level. So and then that teacher would have that support in the classroom to help those students.
Yeah, so maybe we can dig into that a little bit more, Robert. So if you had, say, a fourth grader by age, but they're performing maybe above or below that grade level in math or in English language arts, you'd be able to provide that differentiated instruction. Is that what you're getting at? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, Carrie. Yep. That's what I'm saying.
Incredible. Okay, so
Yeah.
so you have sort of a curriculum approach, but trying to make it as flexible as possible to really recognize that not all 10-year-olds are on the same level academically. Some might be ahead and behind, and that's fine as long as we are tailoring curriculum to them. And then the plan for the future is to add additional grades as the students grow up. Is that the plan?
That is the plan. Like, we'll start K through 7th, and as those 7th graders get older, we'll keep serving them. So eventually, once those students get to 12th grade, we'll serve K through 12 at that point. So by 2029 and the school year 2029 and 30, we should be at K through 12.
And what is your projection in terms of the size of the school, say right around 2029?
We have 2 buildings, and so we want to stay around 200 to 220 students max, so that we can continue that small class sizes and ratio. If for some reason, by God's grace, like we have this huge waiting list and more parents are enrolled, then it'll be dependent upon our ability to hire the qualified teachers and instructors. So,
Yeah. I mean,
between the 2 buildings, we can serve 500 students. But
got it.
but with our model and with our projection, we don't want to go beyond 220 to 240.
Got it. Well, I think it sounds like you're for sure going to hit that projection if you're already at over 50 and you haven't even opened your doors yet. I think as folks see what you're building and see the sort of individualized model, it'll attract even more families. So, I'd love to just hear from you, Robert, as you kind of prepare for launch. What have been some of the most difficult startup challenges, say over the last 6 to 12 months of just starting a school? What has been tricky for you?
Well, all the administrative work. I mean, I'll just start there. Like, because we've been partnering with the schools, because of the background of our staff, like we have teachers already on staff that work for us after school or during the summer. So we have folks that have the background and the degrees. We have administrators that have worked in the school district. So really all of our staff, we have school experience, but the work that it takes to kind of prepare to get the accreditation for a school, to be compliant, to get your building up to code, and then the recruiting process, the marketing, getting the seed funding, just all of the holistic administrative work that just comes with creating a best practice business model to run a school is no small task, to say the least. So we kind of had a sense of it because of all of our research, but then when you start to have to do the work, and then still you have to do the job that you've been doing, like we've been an after school model, so we couldn't keep doing that. Most of our staff have had to do double duty. And so that's been challenging, the administrative work. The second thing that's been challenging, I'll say, is just recruiting the right teachers. In, you know, in our culture today, teachers are already burnt out, overwhelmed, struggling with the support that they're not getting. And so when we started to recruit teachers, just finding the right teachers, and it was a challenge. But by God's grace, it's working out. We're finding quality teachers. So those are the top two. I think there's more, you know, the students and families, getting them to fill out all the paperwork, I would say comes in at a close third. And we've had some success there, as you mentioned, as it relates to our goal of 60.
Incredible. Yeah, and Iowa is one of the more difficult states to launch a private school, even without its new ESA program. It has accreditation rules for school starts that are not the same as what other states have. It's much more restrictive in terms of who's able to launch a school. I know that, or correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you worked closely with the Iowa Association of Christian Schools to get accreditation to be able to launch and to participate in the school choice program, the ESA, which requires schools to be accredited. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that process for you.
Yes, so you're right. We work with Iowa Association of Christian Schools, and they were just amazing. Josh Bauer, he's kind of our consultant, and they provided us with what's called modules. And so the modules, it's kind of like a training program with resources. It just kind of gives you a guideline of the type of documents you need to prepare to submit for accreditation, policies and best practices for your school. And so those modules, without those modules, I don't know if we would have been able to do it. Just because it was not only the modules, but it was having that mentor that was accessible to you, that just kind of streamlined the process and made the questions that you have, like a person that was accessible to you. It just helped with the questions you have, on top of all the work that you had to do to prepare your own documents. And so Iowa Association of Christian Schools, if you don't have an organization like that, when there's such a rigorous expectation for accreditation in the state of Iowa, you're not going to be able to do it. It'll take you a much longer time. So because of that, we were able to do it. But you still got to have the person to put in the work, because we've known of other schools who had the modules, but they were too busy to put in the work. So we had some long nights and hours to kind of like complete the modules. And then to get the accreditation, like, you know, Iowa Association of Christian Schools gives you the support, the modules, the training, but then you have to submit your own application to the accreditation agency, and then they ask you to do more. And so, so it's definitely a process, but Iowa Association of Christian Schools and Josh was amazing.
Just amazing. Yeah. So it sounds like, I mean, this is a sort of a second founding for you. Obviously, you founded the Dubuque Dream Center in 2013, and now Dream Academy for 2024, 25. Has it been more of a challenge to launch a school than the center?
Yes.
because of all of those administrative hoops that you had to jump through, I imagine.
Yeah, that and like when you're starting an after school program, it wasn't easy, but starting a school, just the expectations and the preparation the preparation that you have to educate students, like have a curriculum and, you know, be prepared to prepare students for college and career. On top of like sharing, like, because we're a Christian school, so there's going to be a biblical curriculum. When you put those two things together, that just made it harder. Before, we were just partnering with the schools, you know, and we would continue the school day curriculum, and they put it all together for us, and we just did the gospel curriculum for our after school program and our activities. But now when you're trying to make sure that you the students that you're going to serve and the parents have equal, even better quality of education, that's just a huge lift and a big step. And so that was definitely made it way more challenging.
So are you still offering these after school programs? Are you still running the sort of the partnerships with the local public schools, or how is that changing?
So we are still offering after school programs, but it'll be limited.
Hmm.
Won't be able to offer the same services. For example, we would offer transportation from every school site for all the kids that were in our program. So we won't be able to do that anymore.
Hmm.
So the parents that are not in our school, they're going to have to get their kids to our after school program on their own. And so that might be too much of a barrier for some of those families. Maybe one day we'll be able to build back up to offering a full after school services, but we kind of not need to put most of our resources and man and woman power into our school. So we have to take something away, and transportation will be one of those things.
Yeah, makes sense. So, Robert, how will you measure success? There's a lot of talk about metrics and outcomes, particularly with school choice policies. And, what have you thought about of how will you know that your program is successful when you kind of evaluate it?
Great question. So there's three core measures we're going to measure. This, what I'm going to tell you is not all of our measurements, because, I'd be talking to you all day, which I could, I'm passionate about this. But I'll give you the three core ones. First, I'll just start with the academic measurements, like because the demographic we're serving, probably 80% or more of them when they come to us will be below reading and math proficiency, which is the foundation for any other subject, even learning and reading the Bible. And so we want 90% or more of our students, if not all of them, we want to get them to reading and math proficiency. We want to teach them the 5 sciences of reading. We want to get back to phonics and phonemic awareness, and give our students the time and the love and care that they need, so that they see the value of reading, that they're passionate about reading and education. We shift their mindsets. And so the first measurement will be reading and math proficiency, that our students are proficient and they're at reading it at their grade level, and they're understanding math at their grade level. The second will be our character focus. Like we're going to have social emotional development, gospel curriculums, and we want our students to have executive skills. We want them to be able to be respectful, responsible, have discipline, and we'll have some measurements around that because that's going to impact also how they are in the classroom, making sure that they're not getting office referrals, not getting suspended, that they stay in class. So that'll be, the second measurement. And then the third is it'll be centered around kind of a combination of family engagement and relationships with the school, which a big part of that will be how we do our activities too, just building that community around solid activities. We don't want to be one of those private schools where, our sports program, we don't have quality, we don't care, because the kids are motivated by that, and it engages the families. And then on that foundation, we can build relationships with them. And so family engagement and some measurements around that includes the activities, not just the activities, will be the third area that we'll measure, because without the families and that the families, everybody knows this, it takes a village, but just to actually really make that a priority. And for us, the families that we work with will kind of have the competency and the cultural competency, because we're going to kind of build our school to know and build relationships and to really know our families.
Oh, just so exciting. So, as you think about, Robert, what's happening in education in Iowa and similar trends across the country, especially with the passage now of universal school choice policies in 11 states, Do you see the education changing in Iowa as a result of that? I mean, obviously, you're launching a new school, so we're seeing some inclinations that there's more entrepreneurship and innovation in education. Do you see that elsewhere around you?
In Iowa here?
In Iowa, yeah.
Yes, yes. So because we're connected to Iowa Association of Christian Schools, they have a conference. We get to meet other schools that are starting.
Mm.
Yes, I mean, there, if I'm gonna give a general number, not an exact number, but when we were at the conference, it was like 25 to 30 schools that, they had started just from Iowa Association of Christian Schools, and there's others. And so there's a lot of schools starting, and that's impacting the public schools in our city. The enrollment numbers in the public schools have decreased. And so it is impacting education in our state and here in our city. But it's just the beginning. So if the private schools do well, then we could see some drastic impact over time, which I think
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Yeah, tell me more about that. What do you see maybe say 10 years from now? How do you imagine education in Iowa could look? What would it be like?
There would be more school choice options, so that families that want their child to be not only have a good education, but the values that they believe in as a family, whether it's Christian values or whether just values that are not, the public schools are not aligned with. And people will have a choice. Like, you won't be forced to send your child to a school where, as a parent, those values don't align with what you're teaching your children. I think it'll allow for more parent empowerment, because now parents have a choice, and now the schools have to listen.
Mm.
And now what's going to happen is you're going to have families and schools that become communities where you're all aligned with what you want to teach children. And that's okay. If we're going to have DEI and diversity, let's let it be equal. You know what I'm saying? So what I like for diversity, let me have that. This is what I want my child to learn. This is what I believe in as an educator. And now I want to connect with people who have similar values, and that's different than what you like. And so it's okay to have diversity as long as we can all have our choice. Now personally, I'm a Christian, you know what I'm saying? And I probably fit into the category of an evangelical Christian. But probably not traditionally at all that means, but I just believe that the Bible is the inerrant word of God. I believe in all 66 books of the Bible are the inerrant word of God. I live my life according to the standards of the scriptures. And I believe that the scriptures guides us to influence the world according to biblical standards, and to introduce people to Jesus Christ and why he came and who he is, and introduce it, not force it. And so for me, that's my life philosophy. If I can't do that, then if you say you want diversity and as a Christian, if I'm not allowed to influence people that way, then my diversity is not respected. And so people should have a choice. You should not be forced. Nobody's forced. God isn't even forcing anyone to follow his standards. So neither should we be forced to send our children to a school who does not believe in biblical standards or is anti-Christ. So I think if the Lord is merciful and this school choice grows, that there'll be equal opportunities for people to choose and have diversity that fits their values. That was long, but
Right.
I was in a flow. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's terrific. Yeah, just a much more diverse, decentralized education ecosystem that is driven by choice and by education entrepreneurship, people like you who are creating these new models. and then enabling more healthy competition among schools and spaces, right? That families will be able to shop around and have that sort of consumer variety that we enjoy at other areas of our lives, finally being able to have that in education and really select the learning environments that align with our personal values and preferences and our worldviews and needs. So just it's great to see, you know, sort of your philosophical view of where this could go and how this could reshape education for the better and make it much more accessible to more families.
Well
So,
said,
Robert,
Carrie. Well said. Great summary.
thank you. So Robert, if my listeners and viewers want to follow your progress, be kept abreast of your growth and impact in your community, how can they learn more about Dream Academy and connect with you?
All right, so like us, our Dream Academy Facebook, it's just Dream Academy. Well, Dream Academy DBQ.
Dream Academy DBQ for Dubuque Dream
Yes,
Center. Yes. Okay.
correct. So like us on our Facebook, and we'll keep you updated there. Also, visit our website, Dream Academy, at dbq.org. Let me make sure that's actually, just double check that. Yep, Dream Academy DBQ.org. I'm sorry, dreamacademydbq.org.
Great.
So go there, and then you can reach out to us there if you have questions. Like, our contact information is on our website, and your viewers can reach out to us and ask questions. I don't mind giving my email address either. So that's RKIMBLE@dbqdream.org. If,
Wonderful.
if someone wants to email me with questions, that'd be great.
Wonderful. And I'll put a link to your website in the show notes so viewers and listeners can find more information there. And really excited for your launch. Best wishes in this kickoff year. And hopefully we can touch base again sooner than later to see how things are going. So, Robert Kimball, thank you so much for being on the Liberated podcast.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for having me. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.